Welcome to Ignite Your Business Radio Show. Light the match, throw some gasoline on, and buckle up because we're about to take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Josh Wilhelm. I have over 23 years of experience running my own marketing and design business in Southern California. My passion for the journey of the entrepreneur is what brings me here today. And I get fired up when I talk with small and medium-sized business owners about their journey. So let's introduce our guest. There is something about enjoying homemade baked goods with friends and loved ones that seems to relax the soul. This is not a new feeling. Dating back thousands of years to Egypt, to ancient Rome, and to the colonies of early America, one consistency remains. People like to come together for a beverage, some baked goods, and perhaps some gossip. With a market size of $11 billion with a B, our love of cookies, cakes, brownies, breads, and other baked goods is not likely to diminish anytime soon. While the COVID-19 pandemic did result in a slight dip of 1.3% revenue declining for 2020, entrepreneurs from every imaginable background are committed to establishing and succeeding with bakeries of their own. That brings us to our inspiring and uniquely innovative guest, Ashley Bush. Ashley is the owner of Buttermilk Baking Company, a Newburyport, Massachusetts essential. Ashley combines two things that make her a perfect entrepreneur for this day and age. She bakes some of the tastiest cakes, muffins, and pies you're going to find anywhere. And she also combines those baked goods with a wicked sense of humor and a healthy appreciation of all things meme culture. The Ignite Your Business Radio Show is honored to sit down with Ashley to discuss meme culture, her favorite baked goods, and running a brick and mortar while also an online business simultaneously in COVID America. Here at Ignite Your Business Radio Show, we love talking with small to medium-sized business owners. Ashley is a great example of just how creative and vital these entrepreneurs really are. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Is it cold over there? Because I'm on the West Coast, you're on the East Coast. So,
well, we had some snow this morning, nothing significant, but it actually warmed up this afternoon. So, warmed up being like 36 as opposed to the 18 that we had a couple of days ago. So,
well, you might be surprised about this because it has not happened in a long time. I'm a native Southern Californian, so born, raised. But just 2 days ago, it actually snowed in Pasadena, California. So that is about an hour north of us here from Orange County. So it actually snowed in California. So it doesn't happen very often, but decided to happen this year.
So does everything just, no one goes out? That's it inside?
Well, it's enough to snow, but as soon as it touches the ground, it melts. So it's not quite cold enough for there to be like a layer or anything like that. So it's not quite. But all right. So Ashley, it is such a pleasure to have you on. I have been watching you, not in a stalker way or some creepy way, but I have been watching your business on Instagram. And I saw the pies. I saw the messages that you had on the pies, and I'm like, I have to talk to the owner of this business, and hence why we reached out and why I reached out to you. But so, how has 2021 been for you so far?
So far, it's been okay. We're in a strange business model, like I think a lot of people are. Just trying to navigate through. But 2021 has been okay so far. Well, which I think is pretty good, considering.
What surprised me was, so not knowing who you were or meeting you prior to looking at your pies and things like that, I'm like, wow, you can only imagine what the person looks like, how they sound, and your calmness in your voice and your just overall just calm demeanor is not at all what I was expecting for the person that was creating the pies and the messages on these pastries.
What were you
totally blew me
expecting?
away. I don't know. I don't know. It's like I figured someone that was going to be a lot more like when talking to you more edgy, like I don't give an F about anything and just get out of my way. Where you're sweet as can be, but obviously these are coming from you. But it just it's like, whoa, I was not expecting that one. That took me by surprise a little bit.
Well, okay. So, but my parents, that's probably a lot of my parents. So I get this horrible mouth that you see on Instagram from my mother. But now that being said, she would have you believe that is not from her at all.
Not
Like
at all.
so people meet her and they're like, your mom is so sweet. But she was scary mommy. Like we were terrified of that woman as children.
Behind closed doors, she was terrifying. Out in public, she was sweet as can be. Yeah, I
Oh
get it.
yeah. I mean, I love
I
her to
get it.
death. She was a great mom. Great mom. I couldn't have asked for a better mom. She even works with me now at the
Oh, there you go.
bakery. She's retired, so she works, 2 4-hour shifts a week. Um, and and she's lovely and she's great with customers. And oh, but we were terrified of her. Like, oh, she like that like when you're in the grocery store and you see that mom that like bends down to talk to their kids and you think they're having a sweet exchange.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
would do that, but it was like life threatening. Like if you run away one more time, I will leave you. You're like through gritted teeth and all that. So
uh,
you gotta put out to the world that like be
sure.
polite, be nice, and then once people get to know you.
And that's okay. So I'm curious, with your mom working with you, does she oftentimes stop you and go, Ash, I don't know if we should put that on pies. I mean that's a little that's pushing the envelope a little too far. Or is she like, no,
She's
that was
horrified. She
excellent.
is horrified all the time. She'll come in and see something that we've baked that's, on one of our cooling racks or whatever. Just the other day, this happened. We baked a pie, and I can't even say it right now, with the C word on it, if
Yes.
you will, because that's what she called it. She called it the C word. So she walked in, she saw it. She didn't say anything to anyone. She walked right over to me, grabbed me by the arm, pulled me in so it could just be a whisper in my ear, like I was 5 years
Yeah.
old again.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
she said, I am not selling that pie.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I've got to meet your mother. That is that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a
I
trip. It's a trip
yeah.
having her there.
All right, so tell us about the journey that led you to set up. Now, your business is called Buttermilk Baking Company, but what led you down the road to get this business set up? What drove you to do this?
Uh, so I went to college. I did the culinary school thing. I always had worked in the hospitality industry and restaurants and catering and what have you. And it's draining. It's a hard business. It's weekends, it's holidays, it's all that stuff. And my husband works in a completely different industry, and so he's got a Monday through Friday gig, and sometimes that gets hard with the
Mm,
conflicting schedules. So I got a job offer to work in research and development, which would have put me on a similar schedule to his. So I took it and I thought this is going to be so great. I'm going to love it. And I did not. So it was okay. It was different. I totally learned a lot. It's a different way of looking at producing food, definitely
sure.
from the lens of a restaurant or a bakery or something like that. So that was great, but it just wasn't for me. So I started doing, taking bakery orders on the side. I rented out some space from a local caterer, so I had a facility to do it. And then I just kind of stumbled upon this little space in Newburyport, not the location we're currently in, but just down the street from where we are. And I I just went for it, and then Buttermilk was born.
Hmm. Okay. So, what aspects? Well, actually, before we get into that, I want to point out something that kind of struck me as a little interesting. So, I know being a creative myself in the industry that we're in, I've learned this over the years that creativity is not just the format oftentimes that you choose, right? So like artists, let's just define it as artists. Artists don't they say, okay, I really like this particular area, but they oftentimes will bleed over into the other areas as well. So creativity comes in the form of, everyone kind of comes to mind of painting and the traditional kind of arts, visual arts. But also there's writing, and then there is also cooking is very much a creative aspect. I mean, there is a lot of creative elements to it. So I kind of find it funny. It's like as you started telling me about that, I'm thinking of it as like that's like telling Picasso to go work at a corporate office where you're going to churn out a lot of paintings on a regular basis. And you all of a sudden, like, that's not creative anymore. This is just a factory job at this point. And so it sounds like that's probably what you came in contact with was that creative element was just like sucked out of you, and it was yes the schedule wise it would work for you and your husband, but it just drained you from a creativity standpoint, which I know very well that is almost as bad for a creative person as being stuck at a dead end job for most other people. It's the equivalent of that. It drains the life out of you.
Yeah, we produced a lot of products, but I didn't feel like I made anything anymore.
Mm, that's a good way of putting it. That's interesting. You created a lot of them, but you didn't feel like you made, and that's there is a difference between those. There is a big difference, especially from the creative mind. So, what aspects of baking really appeal to you most? I mean, going in the culinary school, let's even take a step back before you went into culinary school. What was it that you said that's what I want to do? I want to get into maybe not knowing exactly what area, because as you went into the corporate world, you quickly realize, okay, this is not the area I want. I want something else. But what drove you down the path of the culinary creativity to begin with?
Um, well, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, which I think a
Mm,
lot of kids or younger people struggle with.
sure.
And it's hard to at 17 decide something and then shell out all this money for college when you're like, what if I don't want to do this thing? So I don't know. That just seemed so daunting. But my parents really, really wanted me to go to college, and that was immensely important to them. So I I went, and I had declared, I don't know, like 17 majors. Like I was journalism. It just was endless, and nothing. I just didn't love anything. I was doing the work and getting through, but I just felt like I don't know. I just don't know if any of this is really for me.
Sure.
And I discovered hospitality management. Didn't even occur to me that that was a thing. So I ended up finishing my degree on that path. But I was always cooking and baking as a kid. Um, my my family, my mother's side is Italian, and they all cook they
Sure.
endlessly. But nobody really bakes. So holiday time, what have you, the baking, they did cookies and little things like that, but it was like they just did it because you had to do it. Nobody
Right.
was really like in it. So, so I don't know. I just started helping out with that. Like I would make the pie dough at Thanksgiving for my mom while she was at work. And then I would peel apples while she was doing all the Thanksgiving prep, that kind of thing. So, um, I don't know. And I liked doing it, and I was kind of a latchkey kid growing up. So I would come home after school, nothing to do. I would bust out a cookbook and see if we had the stuff in the house to make it. And we weren't really allowed to eat a lot of junk food. So I was like, buttercream. I think we have this stuff. I'm going to try it out. So it was just kind of trial and error. And I had some time as a kid, so I messed around with stuff in the kitchen.
Awesome.
And nobody was upset about it. There was something to eat. So
That's even more important is you can say, hey, what do you have a complaint about? You enjoy what I'm cooking. So uh so let's talk about some of the more unique offerings, such as your profane pies, shut the cup up cakes. The profane pies definitely live up to their name. Do you have a favorite profane pie? I think you know, looking like a snack option would be a really good option for telling someone you care about them. There are quite a few others that we will post up on our episode page to give people, because when we started this off, I'm sure a lot were going, okay, how, what are we talking about here that's on top of pies? It is definitely something you have to see. Yeah, you've got to see these pies to get a full understanding of what we're talking about. So we will make sure we put that up on the episode page. But what is do you have one of what is your favorite one of all of those?
I don't know if I can say it on here.
Okay, how about this? Well, just like you use the C word,
So,
maybe.
okay, this C word I think is probably my favorite, and probably just because it's so taboo to the point where I don't even think I can say it because I don't know you that well, and this seems like a public-ish forum.
I appreciate the holding back. Now, I just got word from our engineering and producers that we will more than be able to bleep out anything that you say, that if you don't feel comfortable with it being shared with the world, we will for sure have some editing done to take that out. But I'm sure it doesn't just say the C word. What, share with us, like, the you usually have pretty lengthy messages actually on what can fit on a pie. You go pretty far out there. So why don't you share with us that?
Depends on the size of the pie.
Okay,
Sometimes we can only fit 5 letters across. Some, it sort of depends. If it's a larger pie, like something you would slice up and serve to guests, we can fit quite a bit of text on there.
sure.
If it's something more individual, like we just posted yesterday, some Valentine's Day pies, so something that might be good for one or two people. And that, my favorite of those is it's a, I, the letter I, but me, a little heart cut out. So it's cute. And then, so I heart you, which we had to drop the G because it's too many letters to fit on the surface area of the pie. But
Oh,
yeah, who wouldn't want to get that?
I think that is absolutely the perfect pie for Thanksgiving. I mean, you have all your family over, and you just had a really big meal of turkey or ham, and everyone's kind of, we all go through it. You've just stuffed yourself, and you're like, oh, but there's dessert. I'm so looking forward to dessert. Oh, let me get the pie out. Yes, we got it. We got it from Buttermilk Baking Company. Let's bring it out. And he put it right there in the middle of the table for the entire group that's there to see. And I'm sure that you could probably hear a pin drop at that point. You'll probably get some of maybe the older gentlemen chuckling. They
Mm-hmm.
might have a good laugh. Certainly, like someone like your mom might go, oh, yeah, and so, but I think it'd be perfect. I mean, why not? Let's change it up this year for Thanksgiving.
We did a couple pies for people for Thanksgiving that had some text on it. Some people wanted to make sure it was PG because it might be a mixed crowd,
Sure.
and some people were just going for it. So
And no pun intended, but some people just said, "F it, let's do it." Let's.
we do that also on a pie.
I have seen these pies. I think I like the. There was let's see, there's a bunch of them that you have about COVID. There's a bunch of them that you have about 2020, no thanks. I'm not going to call you back, kind of thing. 2020. Yeah, I like these pies. This is what steered me in your direction. All right. Well, we're chatting with baker and business owner Ashley Bush, so don't go anywhere. When we come back from this short break, we're going to talk about what it's like to market a bakery locally and beyond. Welcome back to Ignite Your Business Radio Show. I'm your host, Josh Wilhelm, and we're here today talking with Ashley Bush about her bakery, the Buttermilk Baking Company, and the pros and cons of running an online and also traditional storefront business simultaneously. This is a challenge for any entrepreneur on a whole other level, so I'm really eager to see what Ashley has to offer from her years of experience. So, you run not only a thriving brick and mortar business with the physical store front in Newburyport. I switched that around. I'm so sorry. Newburyport, Massachusetts, but also a profitable online business. From a marketing standpoint, is it challenging to meet the marketing needs for both of these areas, both for the brick and mortar and also the online? Because I would imagine they're two totally different marketing strategies that you're going about with those two different platforms of your business. Is there a streamlined approach to doing this, or do you have to target a specific element, when it comes to the storefront and online shop? How does that work for you?
Well, so online is fairly new for us. We started doing it in 2020 as a result of COVID as another way to continue to grow. So we it, it was I was a little bit afraid of it at first. Like I almost didn't want to market it because I didn't feel like confident in it. It was brand new for us. A huge change trying to ship baked goods across the country. I didn't have no experience in it. And so I almost didn't want to market it. Like we did it, but I didn't tell anyone, which is a terrible way to grow a business. So we started it really slowly, which, was fine. I wish I hadn't done it that way though. And I think it's just because now I'm older and I didn't start my business originally that way. You just kind of went in with blinders on and did it. And now, I don't know, having done that, I guess I didn't do that this go around. I tried to make sure it was all the pieces were in place and all that. But in terms of marketing, it is a little different because but again, our original market, like the people that follow us on social media, the people coming through our door every day, those are primarily, local Massachusetts or Northeast. So, and they're already on your side, they want to support your business. So we started letting those people know what, that we could ship. And that helped a bit, like around the holidays and whatnot. Those people were sending pies to their family members that they normally spend the holiday with, but now couldn't. And so, well, here's a little piece of what we usually have together, at your home, wherever that might be. Sure. So that was kind of started to get the ball rolling for us. We use social media for marketing. I mean, that really is the backbone of marketing for us. It's right there. It's so easy. It's right, in your pocket all day long. Sure. You can post whatever you want. And I've started using our stories for more of the stuff that we have that day in the store because it's fast. and that disappears. So it's like we have this right now. People that are nearby will come to the physical store, grab those items. And then the posts where it's something that, it stays with your feed. So
Sure.
that has, hangs on for a bit longer so people can go back to it, and people that we can post more of the stuff that we're shipping on there. For a larger audience to see. But again, we're still trying to grow that audience, because
Okay.
really we started in just the Northeast.
Hmm. So what I understand that the online business really is taken off, especially because of the online presence, meaning your social media marketing. How did you go about, because you kind of hinted at it a little bit, but maybe what were some of the mistakes, or how did you go about the marketing from the foot traffic, the people coming in the store originally when you first started that? How did you go about building up the name, getting the word out? Because I'm sure you're not the only bakery in Massachusetts, of course, but you're also probably bakeries are within driving distance of one another. And so, how did you go about separating yourself from the rest and making people know, hey, we're here and we're ready to bake for you?
Well, that was, there was, Instagram was, I don't want to say just starting, but for
Mhm.
me, I was pretty new at it. I had my cousin who was in college at the time set up an account on Instagram for us because I didn't know how to do it. We had Facebook, but we didn't post very often, and we didn't really know how to utilize it, I don't think, when we started. So we just kind of like nose to the grindstone and just work, like just got the work done and just kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it. It was really repetition. Also, when we were in that smaller shop, our original space, there was really no exhaust at all. So it's an old building in Massachusetts. You couldn't really do anything like add exhaust to it or anything like that. So it is super tiny, like 400 square feet. And we put a full on bakery in there. So it's
Wow.
like 1,007 degrees inside, so hot, even in February. And so all the smells of baking, and which are great smells, have nowhere to go but directly out our front door. We didn't even have a window. So
Ah,
well, we had a window but didn't open. So we were sending like cinnamon apple pie smells through the streets of Newburyport, where we're located, and people were like, "What is happening in there?" So honestly, I know it sounds so ridiculous, but like almost like when you're burning a candle at home and
yeah.
you're like, "Oh, it smells so," that's literally what we were doing, like just baking, and then people were smelling it and walking in off the street.
Actually, you are a genius. That is the best ever. I That makes complete sense. I mean, even if, and all joking aside, it accidentally happened, it's great. I mean, it was a blessing in disguise because it was like you were dying in there because of the heat, but then you had to open the door to let some of the cool in and heat out. And in doing so, you ended up pushing the smells of heaven out your door and down the streets for everyone to be able to go, oh my gosh, where is that coming from? I got to find out. And then that starts your initial line of business. And then now they're like, okay, now that we know that this is here, I'm going to keep coming back. I'm going to keep coming here over and over and over. So that's awesome. That's a great story. And it's interesting too that even when you first started Instagram at that time, even it being new, was really the main component, it sounds like, for your communication with customers and telling them, say, hey, take a look at it. You were a pioneer of Instagram. You were an influencer. You were one of the first. Kim Kardashian's got nothing on you. I mean, you were the first. That's an incredible story.
Yeah,
All right. So
that's exactly how I would say it.
exactly. Given the visual humor aspect of many of your products, it makes complete sense as like what we were talking about with you utilizing Instagram as one of your main not only social media platforms, but one of your main marketing platforms across the board. Uh, you know, do you find out of all of them still to this day, because there's been a lot of transformation in the social media world. You've got TikTok, you've got all these other platforms that have come around since Instagram's, birth. Do you still find that Instagram's your main vehicle to communicate and advertise to your customers?
It is.
Okay.
For us, it definitely is. But yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, I feel pressured to expand into other avenues because
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't want to be stuck there, I guess. Not that
Yeah,
it's
no,
not great. It is great.
no, I mean you don't want to kind of corner or put yourself in the corner where you don't expand and you don't try new things, you don't try new avenues. All right, so let's talk about Instagram for a second, a little bit more. You have over 5,000 followers. That is a fantastic number. We have found from our experiences on Instagram that you believe contributed, like we've talked about, uh, but that being the massive factor in helping you out, I'm curious, how did you go about, and do you know roughly how long it took you to get to that 5,000? Like we've talked with Brian Banks, who came on the show, who's a food critic out of Fort Worth, Texas. And he talked about where at a certain number of his Instagram followers, he saw a shift, he saw a transition in how not only businesses that he was interacting with started treating him differently, better. He was getting, instead of him having to ask to come out and be the food critic, they were asking him at a certain point. Did you find that in your case, that like a certain milestone that stood out to you when looking back on it, that really was like, once we hit this number, it kind of quickly, picked up pace, or things changed for you?
No, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I don't have a better answer than that.
That's okay. I was just curious to find out. So then, how long did it take you, and what was your strategy in building up that amount of followers?
Okay, this is really anticlimactic, but I it's so we opened in 2012, and I think we had an Instagram account that year at some point. And uh it's been that long. So it's slow. I mean, we don't, it's all organic growth. I've never done the like paid followers
Sure.
thing. Quite honestly, I don't know how to do that. So
Hey,
it's just kind of, it's word of mouth on social media,
sure. Yep.
which is not that exciting to tell someone.
No, no, no. So just to be clear, because there are different strategies when it comes to building followers on Instagram or any social platform for that matter. But it sounds like your strategy was, again, no pun intended, but yeah, well, let the pies speak for themselves. I mean, they have a message on there. Let them speak out and let them get picked up and interest from other people that come across it. I would imagine that using or the use of hashtags probably also helped out with your social posts.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Once I understood like how to do that, that absolutely helped. Certainly on a local level for sure. Um, having a brick and mortar is a little bit, you have to rely on the people that are locally that can walk through your door that
Sure.
day, and buy something. So yeah, for sure. That definitely helped. I mean, the reality is I have no marketing experience at all. I have no business even talking to you about marketing.
No, you do, because here's the thing. It doesn't, for me it doesn't matter that, the difference between someone that went to school that's their background. They studied it, they learned it, and oftentimes, arguably, those individuals don't know what they're talking about because they're very book smart about it. But when it comes to implementation, they're not even remotely close. They're thinking and acting in theory. And as we know, the online world especially is constantly evolving. It's constantly changing. So what you did maybe a year ago or when you started your business, even with Instagram, it sounds like Instagram has followed you all the way through. But even your approaches that you took at Instagram, which I'm curious, how have they been different from what you started with to how you treat posts nowadays on the same platform?
So, getting pretty decent at food photography has been super important. Like if you go back through our feed from when we first started, it's like they're dark. You don't really know what you're looking at.
Right.
It's probably food, but you're not 100%.
Uh,
And you're just trying to connect with customers on some level, or we were, because we were a brand new business and just getting going. So you will post anything, and that just wasn't relevant, and it didn't even really have a place. But you were just trying to like reach out, like, hey, we're a bakery, like come visit, get a cookie, whatever.
sure.
But now it's very product focused. We do pay a lot of attention to how we're shooting the photos. It's, I mean, food itself, I think, is like a comfort thing. But I also thoroughly enjoy making somebody laugh. Like that to me is just as satisfying as making you something that you're like, oh, that you just love. So it's like, I don't know, I always joke that like I never get tired of people saying to me, oh my God, that pie you made me was just to die for. Like I love hearing that. I love when people tell me I look thin, and I love making people laugh. Like those three things all day long.
Uh, well, you definitely have me laughing, so I appreciate that. No, but it's interesting to hear that because when you think about bakers and bakeries in general, like you think maybe about, let's say, wedding cakes, right? Well, wedding cakes are a very serious matter, just generally. It's very lovey dovey, that kind of thing. But yes, there's the taste element because surely that's what gets people to return most of the time. If it tastes like junk, you might have a funny enough cake for them to return, but it's like, yeah, but then I have to eat it. It's just, I don't know, is it worth it? It's funny, but it's like going into one of those stores where it's like you're buying those products that make you laugh, but they're so useless. I mean, they're you can't even use them for anything. So but it's interesting is your take on it is, look, first and foremost, yes, the quality, the taste has to be there, but I also like doing what's non-traditional about bakery and not being, oh, that's so sweet, too. That made me laugh hysterically and it tasted really good.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like that is my goal. So some of the stuff that we post on Instagram, because now our the people that follow us on there are not necessarily right in Newburyport, can't
Sure.
necessarily walk through our door. So sometimes I have posted something purely to make you laugh. Like you know what I mean? There's no way that you're going to be able to taste this thing unless you order it and we can ship it to you. But, for instant gratification, like you walk into the bakery, you get a brownie, you bite it, it's instant gratification. But that's not how Instagram works.
Sure.
So you can look at our feed, you laugh, and then that was instant gratification. It was the same thing for me. Like it makes me happy to know that in some small way, whether it be through food or humor, I made you smile, whichever. And if it was both, good for me.
Are you looking forward to the day that Instagram puts out that product that can hook up to your computer where when you come to your post that it instantly sprays out a smell of what the actual product looks like and that they get the smell of the baked pie? Uh
There has to be some way to do that because there's times that I'm like, I wish they could smell this.
I think we got something here, Ashley. I think you and me, we need a partner on this and do the smellogram. We'll call it that. And there you go. It's right there. Anyone listening, Maja, we got to cut that part out because we don't want anyone hearing about our new invention that's coming down the pike. So all right. So with 3,000 followers on Facebook, which is nothing to shy away from. I mean, that's equally as impressive as your Instagram. It sounds like you're doing pretty well there too. Are there any significant differences that you found between how you market yourself on Facebook versus how you take a different approach possibly on Instagram?
Yes. Um, I don't, I certainly don't use as much profanity on Facebook. Um, it's a different market. I think our followers on Facebook are a little older,
Mm,
um, a little less edgy, I guess.
yeah.
And they don't think some of the things I say are funny. So the people from Facebook, I think in some ways might be some of our original customers
Got
who
it.
really were just there for the quality of the food.
Mm.
So they they just want to know that we have regular old key lime pie. They don't need it to say 2020. They just want the key lime pie.
Oh, it sounds like I think your mom has become the Facebook ambassador for you, where like you go, funny mom, not funny, not funny. Okay, that's not going on Facebook, everybody. All right, next one up. Funny, not funny. I'll take it. Okay, this is Facebook acceptable here, guys. It sounds like that's probably one of her primary roles is to help you flush out and filter out what is acceptable for Facebook standards and what is not. It sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that's fair to say.
There you go. There
Mhm.
you go.
Mhm.
See, you can bring your parents into the business, and they will have value in the business. So
It
just
should
know.
be noted, though, that my dad thinks all of it is funny.
Oh yeah. So your dad is not on the committee for what's approved and not
No,
approved.
no, no, no,
Okay. All right. Fair
no.
enough. Fair enough. All right. Does one social media channel work better for the physical store location? I know we talked about Instagram that you've used it for all of it, but have you noticed with the bringing in the other channels of whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Is there any that you're finding that separate itself to be one's better for the physical store and the other one's better for online, or is it all still the same?
Um, I think because of the nature of what we do, how it's so visual, that Instagram is just a better platform probably for both.
Okay.
Because there's just less content to sort through to get to the pie, for
Sure.
instance.
Not as many distractions probably too. Just thinking about how the format of and Instagram is primarily mobile users are it's the highest level. I think it's what 80 to almost 90% of users for Instagram are on mobile anyway. So you don't have a lot of real estate to take up for ads and all that kind of stuff as it is. So you're pretty much drilled down to the photos. Do you have any plans to expand your current social media marketing efforts? YouTube maybe, or anything else that you're looking at?
Yeah, I would love to. So here's the crux of it, really. I think I have endless ideas of how I could make TikTok videos and start a YouTube channel and all that. It's just it boils down to time for us.
Mm,
We're teeny tiny staff. I pretty much do most of the social media right now, and I just don't know how to find more time
mm.
at the moment to get there. But yeah, I would absolutely love to expand what we're doing. I think that would be huge for us.
Well, when you find the answer to how to pause time, please, please, please let me know. Because I've been trying to figure out that same thing for quite some time now. So thank you for the honesty there. You're absolutely right. I mean, small business owners, we even while we're growing, it's the juggling act. You're trying to find time to, balance even in your personal life and work life. You're still trying to find that way of balancing time. I mean, there's a lot of things. Life throws you curveballs on the personal and work side that sometimes eat away at time that you had allocated for the family or vice versa. So yeah, it's a never-ending battle for small business owners. Time is not on our side often, so it's a challenge constantly. Um, so do you market your bakery at all outside of the website and even social media? Are there maybe some what would be considered more traditional methods of advertising that you've maybe tried? Maybe it's worked, maybe it hasn't. Have you tried any of the more traditional stuff?
So maybe so if you come into the store, for instance, you can grab little um, brochures, flyers, and things that tell you about our shipping capabilities or what the cake flavors are or things like that. So like a tangible, because there's a large customer base that wants that
Sure.
flyer in hand so they know and can put it on their fridge. Um, so we have stuff like that. But like email marketing, for instance, we don't really, every now and then I'll try to piecemeal together some email marketing, which is very elementary and not that great. But I try. um, so yeah, outside of that, not so much.
Okay. Fair enough. I was just curious. I have to ask because I feel like I'm shortchanging our audience if I don't ask. I know certainly a lot of businesses are up and more in tune with modern day means of marketing, but there are also some businesses that still rely on those traditional forms, the print materials, the mailers, that kind of thing. And different industries respond better or worse depending on who your audience is. So I was curious, but yeah,
I
no,
mean, when every holiday, we always have like a physical menu, and our customers are like, do you have the menu yet? Like they need it. So, yeah, we definitely have the traditional print marketing for specific events, really. And then they get, they'll take their menu home, the whole family decides what are we having for Christmas, Thanksgiving, what have you. And so yeah, we definitely do a piece of that, but it's small, I think.
so I've got an idea for you, and it's a little bit joking, but a little bit serious. What about doing a calendar for yourself that shows some of your previous pies, the humor behind it, but also as you get in closer to the holidays, you put on those specific dates like, hey, this would be a great time to buy your Thanksgiving pie, so that you kind of give them a heads up.
That's
And
a great
then
idea.
see,
I love it.
sometimes every so often, just it comes
I'm
to
gonna
me.
do that. I'm taking that. Thank you.
And you know what? I think you should do buy five pies, you get one calendar free. Even take it up a notch. Buy one, get a calendar, or whatever it is. So there you
All
go.
right.
There you go. All right.
I
So
think it's
your
great.
business has been cited as an example of meme marketing, in terms of how you combine your sense of humor with how you promote your business. Would you say it also influences other aspects of your business, such as your product, certainly, but do you find that with the encouragement maybe of customers going, oh, I love that, that was awesome, that
Oh
encourages
yeah.
you to keep pushing it, keep going a little bit
Yeah.
further? Okay.
A little bit for yeah, that's how we ended up with C word pie.
It didn't just start right out the first day like, you know what, let's try this. I'm curious, let's just see how this will go and see how our customers will take to it, and let's just put the C word on there. I mean, who knows? Yeah, exactly, what could go wrong? Yeah, other than your mom might like pull your ear and be like, how dare you. That I could foresee as happening, possibly as that being the first time that you try it. Probably would not go so well, but Yeah.
So she, like she's my mom. So you're constantly looking for your parents' approval, right? So I'll make something borderline inappropriate, post it on social media, day goes on, la, la, la. I, talk to her at some point and I'm like, hey, did you like my stuff on social media? And she's like, I saw it. And I'm like, but did you like it? No, I didn't like it because I don't like it. Like, okay, there you have it.
Oh man, I think next time we have you on the show, we have to bring your mom. We got to bring your mom on, and I think that would be just a hoot. That would be a good episode. All right. When we return with Ashley Bush, we're going to take a closer look at the Buttermilk Baking Company. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this. And we're back again with Ashley Bush, owner of the Buttermilk Baking Company, talking about the challenges and joys of running a bakery during a challenging time in the world, to say the least. Ashley, how did COVID-19 impact your business in particular?
Well, when everything started to shut down and everyone was told it's just going to be a 2 week pause, like the term 2 week pause was really thrown around. And first quarter for the baking industry is very slow. And we were still in that first quarter, and I was like, okay, well, it's just 2 weeks, so I guess we'll close for 2 weeks. That seems all right. We'll just do it. So I laid off the staff so they could get onto unemployment, and we were going to close for 2 weeks. And then I think I was at home for like 3 days, and I'm just not good at not doing anything. So I was like, this isn't working. So I put out a limited menu that I myself could make without having to take anybody off unemployment to mess with that so much. And I started doing just a Saturday menu, so you could pre-order, you would pick up on Saturday. But initially, when it all started, I mean, we were straight up closed. Like our doors were shut. We weren't open for walk-in anymore. You had a pre-order, and it was just that Saturday pickup, and it was just myself. And we went on like that way beyond 2 weeks. It was probably closer to 2 months that we worked that way. Because as we all know, it was not 2 weeks. So, and then, we, as many small businesses did, we applied for that PPP loan, which allowed me to bring the staff back. But even then, it was still extremely slow. I mean, a huge part of our business, and I'm sure a lot of bakery business, is events. People having birthdays, people having weddings, just any events, baby showers, Mother's Day, what have you. And that just wasn't going on. And our walk-in traffic was non-existent. People just weren't out. So we had to try and find another way to connect with our customers. Like, what is everyone doing now that we're not doing what we used to do?
Sure.
So, huge change. And then we kind of found a pace. People still wanted to do things, but it was really just with an immediate family. So, we were very used to doing like a birthday party for 60 people.
Sure.
So, and then it became a birthday for 6. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about it before, but that's when, at the point that you started up the online part of your business, it something, it sounded like, I think you said before that it was something you were kind of planning on rolling out into 2020 anyway, but then kind of COVID really put an emphasis on that? Or was it something like, nah, we had talked about it, but weren't really thinking about getting it going, and COVID really put an emphasis on it? Which of those was it more accurate?
The latter, for sure. So it has been a goal of mine to be able to ship our products for years. And it just was one of those things that you just didn't get to. Like, we're going to do that one day. Like, at some point, we'll do that. I don't know when. And it was like, I had wanted to get into shipping, wanted to get into it. And then, stuff just comes up and you get bogged down with the day to day. So COVID happened. We weren't really doing what we were used to doing. So we had some free time to figure something else out.
There you go. Well, and when you talked about it earlier with the starting up the online business, and I've heard this from a few that kind of like yourself, different industries, but those that really didn't have to do the online portion of it, they almost felt like it was starting a whole nother business. Like, because you've got to figure everything out. It's totally different logistics. You've got to, you've got different challenges now that you didn't have before. So do you feel like it was the equivalent of starting a brand new business? I mean, sure, it's part of your brand. That makes it a little bit easier because it's not like you're having to start with a product you've never had any experience with. But so from that side, it's yeah, carryover. But what was it like kind of going through that whole part of it?
Oh, it was terrible. All right, so you're like, okay, we have a little bit more time. It's pretty slow. We could do this other thing. But the reality was, it was the stress of not having business, like not
Sure.
like because of COVID, was the stress of, oh my God, are we really going to make it through this financially? Like, truly, are we going to get there? And then you're like, well, we need to do something else because we can't keep doing what we're doing. It clearly isn't working. So we have to change. You don't have a choice. You have to. So in terms of the product, like, we already made the product. So I know the pies are good, but how do we ship them? And yes, it was absolutely like starting another business because I felt like we need the packaging in order to ship it. We need to know how to ship it. Like, I didn't have a UPS account. Like, I don't know how that works. Like, you just go to the UPS store with a pie and you're like, can you ship this to someone's grandma? So, and then can you ship it? Like, the way we handle the product with kit gloves at the bakery, and we make sure it gets into your car in perfect condition, and that you're going to put it somewhere flat in the car, and you're going to drive safely with your item. You can't, there's no way to ensure that that's how the product's going to be handled with a third party delivery system. So we had to test ship. And then, climate wise, like, maybe there's stuff that we don't ship because too much time out of refrigeration, or how much dry ice do we need, and ice packs, and learning about that sort of thing. So yeah, it was a lot. And then once all that was done and we had the list of products we wanted to ship and could ship, then we needed to be able to take photos of them. So you're a regular customer in my store, and you already know, you like the key lime pie, you've had it, you know what it looks like. When you come, you expect a certain thing. But you now are a new customer and you live in Arizona, and you're like, oh, I'd like to get something. Well, what's it look like? So now I need new photography for that person because they can't go to the store. So yeah, it was a ton. And then building a e-commerce website, which I didn't know how to do. So yeah, second business for sure.
So just for selfish reasons, because us continually talking about pies is really making me hungry. I'm curious, do you make a killer lemon pie by chance?
Like a lemon meringue?
Yes.
Or just...
Well, I'm curious. Maybe you've forged out there and have reinvented the lemon pie to a whole nother level that I'm not even aware of, and I'm curious.
Well, so there you could have a few options in terms of lemon. I just assumed lemon meringue because I figured that was the most popular, which yes, we make. But it's not that popular anymore in terms of pie flavors. but we could do a lemon mousse, a lemon meringue, a lemon chess. I mean, there's options.
Oh, now we're talking. Now we're talking. Yes. Yes. Now we're talking. All right. With so much of your business being shifted in different direction, and I know your physical store is going strong because now that things are kind of somewhat returning back slowly to somewhat of a norm, or the new norm, as a lot have said. Have you found it challenging to maintain the balance between your work life and your personal life?
Uh, no, not any more so than normal.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I think every business owner struggles with that, and maybe every person struggles with that.
sure.
But I think you just make choices personally and professionally, and then you just live with that. Um,
Hmm.
so when we were shut down through COVID, we weren't open Sundays, which we'd never done before. So
Hmm.
because what would generally happen is if people were doing something for the week, like they were having a family dinner or something like that, it was starting to just happen on Saturday for whatever reason. Um, and people were picking up most of their stuff, or I guess they got in the habit of doing it on Saturday because I don't know. I'm not really sure how it happened, but it happened. And we weren't open on Sunday. And it was the first time in a long time that my husband and I had a day off together. And I kind of started to really like it. And so I was like, maybe we don't do this Sunday thing anymore.
Sure.
And Sunday's always been a bit of a slow day for us because we were primarily event driven,
Right.
which typically would happen Saturday anyway.
Yep.
So yeah, that's where we're at right now. And the staff and I have been discussing that a lot now. Like, should we keep with this Sunday closure? Like, is it, because there's staff members also whose significant others don't work in hospitality. So it's kind of become a bit of a draw for them, like knowing that they can always have Sunday, which
You know, I think there, as it said, is on the seventh day God rested, and so did Ashley. So, it that makes complete sense. Yeah, of course. All right. Well, you've been running a very successful business for several years now. Is there anything you wish you could tell the version of yourself who is starting to go down a road you are now? I kind of like, I'm a big movie fan. I like Back to the Future. So you're Marty McFly. Doc throws you in the DeLorean. You're driving down, and boom, it hits it, and you're back in time. You're looking at really the same looking Ashley because you maintain your view and your presence just as you are today all that time. So you don't look any younger because it's like you're good preserve. Um, but what do you tell yourself that's younger, maybe a little bit more naive, and like, look, you haven't been around the block, you know, young Ashley. So let's help you out a little bit. What do you tell your older self or younger self, I should say?
so in the beginning, I think as a business, from a business standpoint, I censored myself a little, um, which I don't know if that was smart or not, but I think once I stopped doing that and I gave our audience like 100% who I am, um, sarcasm, profanity, and all, people really loved it. And I think on some level, unconsciously, even our customer base kind of could sense that maybe wasn't authentic, that just be you. I was always afraid that I was too much for everybody. So I need to tone it down, act
Mm,
normal, don't say that much. Um, and they were like, who is this lady with all her nonsense? So I think, just be you. Like, do it. Go all in. The people that are there for it will be there for it.
I love that. I think probably I'm a big believer in the right time, right place. So probably even telling your younger self that, hey, be real, even if you had been at that time, it might not have been the right time. Like, you know what I mean? Like maybe from a society standpoint that it would not have been accepted really well, but that you transitioned and realizing maybe internally that, look, I'm not. I feel like I'm not being myself. I feel like I'm not being true to who I am, and so I have to. It just doesn't feel right. I gotta feel like I'm in someone else's skin, and it feels weird. So I'd rather just be myself. And at that time, while the society or whatever is transitioning, also at that same time with you, that you're able to be, you're able to be yourself. You don't have to worry about repercussions. You don't have to worry about, getting shut down or whatever it is on social or anything else. So when conditions improve for everyone, is there anything you like to do with the Buttermilk Baking Company that you haven't been able or haven't already been able to do?
So pre-COVID, and probably maybe not in the last 2 years, maybe it's 3 years now. I don't know. We used to run a program called Buttermilk After Dark, which was, I think it started at 8 p.m. And we would do this like secret menu item that we would sell, we would make. We didn't tell anybody about until about, I don't know, maybe a half an hour before we opened our door. And it was a backdoor thing. So you had to
Oh,
know about it. And it was a lot of fun for the community, and it was family friendly. It was at 8 p.m. on Friday nights. And people would line up, and they would have no idea what they were even lining up for. But they would, and it was $5. Like, it was just kind of it was something to do on a Friday night. You could bring your kids to it, and people would get the item, and then they would just like hang out
hmm,
outside and eat it, and like meet their neighbors and just chit chat with people. So it was fun because we got to make a new thing, a new creative thing. It was like a community thing. People got together, they got to maybe meet somebody they didn't know before, because it was all pretty much locals. It wasn't people weren't traveling for this, they didn't even know it was happening.
sure.
So I would love to be able to do that again.
You know, I had another one come to me. I think maybe possibly turning this into a podcast and being able to share something that you've cooked, and maybe they can pick it up, take it home, and then you do a live thing on Instagram, that being your platform and all. Do kind of the virtual safe thing for everyone, but you still get the taste, you still get all those elements worked into it. You might be able to experience something like that. I foresee the Buttermilk After Dark being much bigger than just a local thing. So I'm
Yeah.
just
Hmm.
throwing it out there. I think that might be
All right.
something in your future there.
All right.
All
We'll
right.
build on that.
Yeah, there you go. So, Ashley, there's no doubt in all of our minds that businesses like yours, especially yours, during this time, bringing the element of a smile, bringing the element of humor into, no doubt, is, all joking aside, is a very serious thing with COVID. A lot of people have been impacted, a lot of families have been impacted during this time, but I want for the rest of us to say a great big thank you to you and your business because of bringing the element of a smile, bringing the element of humor where it's traditionally a little downer out there. People, we're hearing it in the news all the time of how many cases, how many deaths, and it's not something that just constantly hearing about it can be a downer for a lot of people. And so your business, like many others that have made it a mission to help, you helping in the way, in the form of a smile, helping in the form of humor to bring some light into a dark time of all of our lives. I appreciate very much. And so great big thank you to you for that from
Yeah.
all of us. So
Thank you. That means a lot. That's why we do it, really.
yes.
And it's cool that it meant something to the audience. So
Absolutely. And the appreciation for everything small and medium sized business owners have been doing is more than I can really say with time we have left. But it has been, in to say the least, an illuminating conversation. I am so grateful that you could make some time for us today. But before we go, I do have just a couple few more questions. If you had to pick just one item on your menu to be the specialty of the house, what would it be?
generally pie,
Okay. Okay.
but does it have to be a specific?
You are allowed to take enough ingredients to make one pie. What pie is it going to be?
It's got to be apple. That's the house favorite.
Okay, what kind of apple? Because there's variations of apple pie. So what kind of apple pie? I'm very curious now.
So it is a very traditional apple pie, double crust.
Ooh.
Nothing fancy about it, but it's huge. It's got, I don't know, people call it a mile high pie. It's not really a mile high, but it is definitely at least 5 pounds.
Oh,
And it's got like the tent on it, like it doesn't bake down and slump
yeah.
down. It goes for it.
Okay, so is this pie one that can be shipped across country?
Okay, so this is the bad news. Every time we ship it, and
Mm.
we've only test shipped it, we've not shipped it to anyone, for money, because every time we ship it, the pie and the lid separate, so they're
Uh,
just they're no longer one.
it's no longer the mile high apple pie. It's kind of like a couple steps up. Apple pie is essentially, got it. Okay, I was gonna say, because my father-in-law, who I'm gonna have him listen specifically to this episode, is a huge fan of apple pie. I personally, I like the apple crumble pies. I love those.
That's what's up. So that's the better tasting one.
Okay, okay,
And
fair
I
enough.
try to tell people that all the time, but it's a crumb top pie. You know what you're looking at.
Yeah,
So at Thanksgiving, when people are torn, I'm like, here's the thing. This one, the mile high one, that's got the look of it. Like if
sure.
you're trying to impress people, we'll
That's
put
the
it
one.
in your glass pie dish. You can pretend you made it. It's fine. But if you, but if none of that matters to you, get the crumb.
Okay. If you care about taste rather than look, then
Yeah,
go with the crumble. Okay. See, I like the crumble. I think it's awesome taste.
it's where it's at. Yeah,
That's
I'm with
exactly.
you.
So, who would you say would be the most essential influence in your life and the success of the bakery?
Probably my parents.
Mm,
Truly. I mean, their work ethic is unmatched. And I don't know, like a lot of kids, you're constantly trying to make them proud of you. So, at the end of the day, that's I guess what I strive for. And a little bit, to piss my mom off a pinch. Like I never outgrew that.
yeah, that's always a little bit in a child's DNA. I mean, even when you're little to a grown adult, there's always something that kind of is that little evil grin that just you get a little excitement for. I do it to my mom all the time. I pulled pranks on her all the time, even to this day. And I think your mom, my mom would get along great. They would, yeah. I sound very similar in a lot of ways. Um, All right. So, what was the last book that you just finished reading, or it could be one that you're currently reading? I'm curious, and it listen, I will say this. It does not have to be a business book. It doesn't even have to be an actual physical book. It can be an audio book or it can be a child's book. It really I'm just curious. I like asking this question because oftentimes people go, yeah, there's not really relevance. It's just a book. But then as I look at it, I go, no, there's the reason. It plays a role. So what's that book?
So I struggled with this one a little bit because I wasn't sure, like, should I Google like books we should be reading right now and just tell you one of those?
No, I don't want one of those. I want one that you actually this there's a reason I don't ask and then when did you finish the book? I leave it open there because I don't want to like, hey, I'll be completely frank with you. I am not a big book reader myself. However, I'll listen to audiobooks because that's the only thing that I can muster up. And I know it's valuable. I know it's helpful for education, all that purpose. But so I'm not going to ask you when you finished the last book, but what's the last book?
Okay, so the last book is Trixie and Katya's Guide to Modern Womanhood.
Okay.
Okay, do you unfamiliar?
I'm definitely because I have not been looking up on womanhood, but
Well, okay, so here's the real. So Trixie and Katya are both drag queens, so it's kind of just a little bit of a
I
joke.
just stepped right into that. It was there. I stepped forward and I just put the foot right in there.
Yeah, it's
Thank you for that.
it's a fun read though. It's a fun read.
Perfect. All right. Last question for you. And I always like to ask this question with the context of what is your go-to quote? So this is the one is I call it oftentimes reference it as a cerebral Red Bull to the brain. It's the it gives you the jolt back. You're having a snowy day in Massachusetts, and it's like I don't want to get out of bed. It's so warm, and I don't want to bake today. It's not in the stars for me today. But then it's that quote that you either have tattooed somewhere or you look over on your bedstand and it's there like just yelling at you, or it's something that your mind goes, oh, it's in the bakery, shoot, thank you very much, and then you remember what that quote is and you're like, okay, I'm up, and you go right back to it. It's the thing that encourages you, it gets you back on that horse.
Be an active participant in your own salvation.
Mm, that is a excellent quote. Now, who is that by? Is that an Ashley Bush original or is that
No, I have no idea where that originated, but a college roommate of mine's mother used to say it to her, so then she would say it to me, and it just stuck.
Okay, so we will put that quote on there and we will say college friend's mother as the source of that quote. And we will
Mrs. Lee. Her name was Mrs. Lee. Direct
Mrs.
quote
Lee,
from Mrs. Lee.
we will give Mrs. Lee the credit she deserves for such inspirational words. And yeah, those are profound nonetheless. But we will also Google it in case Mrs. Lee was.
Yeah, in case she was.
And maybe she was doing a little plagiarism, and
oh yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm sure she got it from somewhere, but that's where I got it from. So
okay, well, we'll make sure. Look, we're all about keeping people accountable, so we're gonna make sure that Mrs. Lee was not the. If she was, credit is where due, but if not, then we'll give her joint credit to say that it obviously was inspiring because you heard it from Mrs. Lee, and Mrs. Lee heard it from somebody else. So, there's a chain of command in there. But yeah. All right. Well, to learn more about Ashley Bush and the Buttermilk Baking Company, visit igniteradioshow.com and look for her episode, this very one that you're listening to right now. There you can find a recording of this episode, as well as any information you may need to get in touch with her. Check out her pies, her delicious baked goods. And if you happen to be in the Newburyport, Mass area, you got to stop by. And you'll know it by there will be a door open and you will smell heavenly smells coming from out the door. But I hope today's conversation with Ashley helps light the fuse inside of you and ends up taking your business to the next level. I'd like to thank our guests today, our production team, our engineering team, and most of all of you listening. Until next week, I'm your host, Josh Wilhelm. Have a great and successful rest of the week, everybody.